Hello class, this is Jada Stevenson, and this is my older adult oral video presentation for Social Work 501. The interviewee that I chose is a man who lives down the street from me. I've known him for almost 10 years, and he is 65 years old. The developmental stage that I chose was stage 6, intimacy versus isolation, which is young adulthood. The reason that I chose this stage is because this is where a lot of major events took place in my interviewee's life. This is also where many, if not all, of the decisions that he made affected him for the rest of his life. So I just think this is an important stage to discuss for my interviewee. In stage 6, intimacy versus isolation, young adults are searching for closeness in their relationships. In Erikson's framework, young adults' ages range from 20 to the mid-30s. During this stage, young adults feel pressured, but also that it's very important to fuse the identities that they have already developed for themselves with other people. Young adults are vigorously seeking out loving, sexual, as well as working relationships and friendships during this stage. Some of the challenges and also important experiences that my interviewee faced during this stage was that after the military, he got married. This was when he was in his mid-20s. A year and a half later, he had a son. He was married for a few years, but the marriage was an unhappy and toxic relationship, so he decided to file for divorce. When he filed for divorce, his wife told him that he was not able to be a part of his son's life. This was really hard on him. He attempted to have a relationship with his son throughout his childhood, but eventually their relationship just became strained and distant. Another challenge that my interviewee faced was when his younger brother was tragically killed by a drunk driver. His brother was walking home on Thanksgiving night, and a drunk driver hit him. He was on life support for about a week or two before they decided to terminate it. My interview was very close with his younger brother. He looked out for him, and he was in his mid to late 20s when this happened, so it was very hard on him. Another important experience in my interview's life, as well as maybe one of the biggest challenges, was the decline in his health. My interviewee was diagnosed with diabetes. His physician stressed the importance of him to change his lifestyle and take care of himself. He came from a family of drinkers and smokers, so he also smoked and drank. He did not eat very healthy, and his diabetes continued to get worse. As his health declined, he suffered from an injury that he had in the military, which left him paralyzed, which just added to the strain on his body with the diabetes. So unfortunately, while he was dealing with the diabetes and the paralyzation, he had lack of blood circulation and wound up losing his legs. He was also paralyzed from the waist down and in a wheelchair, and this negatively affected him at this time. So this is another challenge that he went through. Some accomplishments, which are also important experiences in my interview's life, were that straight out of high school, he joined the Marine Corps. He stayed into the Marine Corps until his mid to late 20s. This, to him, was one of the biggest honors that he could receive, was to serve our country. He served during the Vietnam War. College was not really a priority to him. It wasn't really that accessible as he felt at the time. So this was a great opportunity for him. So that was a good accomplishment for him. Later on, he met his second wife and his current wife, and this was in his early 30s. Well, actually, he said he knew her pretty much his whole life, but they started dating in his early 30s. They winded up getting married and having a son. And to him, this was a huge accomplishment. This was a very happy marriage. They're still married today, and he looks at it as like one of the greatest things he's ever done in his life. The psychosocial crisis that my interviewee experienced, as mentioned before, was his health decline. It negatively impacted his wife and his 3 children that he had with her. During this time, he was no longer able to care for them. Once his health issues got so bad that he wasn't able to reside in the home, he had to be placed in a nursing facility that could care for him 24/7. He was the youngest person there, being a young adult. Everyone who was in the nursing home was in their 70s, and he was in his early 30s. So this was hard on him. I'm sorry, in his mid 30s. So he developed a major depression as his quality of life became worse. He and his family lived with the daily fear that he would die. The interviewee developed a psychosis from being in the nursing home, which also negatively affected his relationship with his family. Looking at the biopsychosocial approach to the psychosocial crisis, at a biological level, the interviewee came from a family of drinkers and smokers, as I mentioned before. His father's side is of Italian descent, so he did not have healthy eating habits that continued through his adult life. He did go to the military, and while in the military, he drank a lot, he smoked a lot, and after the military, he did not continue his, strict workout regimen, so he was not as fit as he was when he was in the Marines. He wound up developing diabetes. I think that diabetes is something that runs in his family. He was warned by doctors to change his habits, but struggled to do so. His health declined rapidly. After surgeries and being paralyzed, he was put on heavy doses of morphine that made it hard for him to stay awake. This made it hard for him to be active in his own life as well as in his family's, which was everything to him. These events negatively impacted his mental state. At the psychological level, the health issues negatively impacted his self-esteem, his coping skills, and his mental health. He felt really down on himself because he was a father, and his role was to be the provider of his family. His wife was a stay-at-home mom, and when he went away, she felt very lost. So he felt like he failed her as a husband, and he was failing as a father. He felt that his life was over at a young age. I'm sure he had a lot of anger. While living in the nursing home, he regressed cognitively and developed psychosis. This is a common thing that happens in nursing homes and like medical facilities, but he did develop a psychosis. He developed a chronic depression. He gave up on himself. He gave up on trying to get better and trying to get back home with his family, which was a possibility, but he just felt hopeless. And he also felt that he had a lack of support. I don't know if this was a result of his paranoia and psychosis, but he felt at the time, he says that he felt that the hospital was against him and did not care about him. He felt that the staff, it was understaffed with too many patients. So he had a lack of trust in the VA hospital, and even in his family. He just felt trapped and powerless in his own body. As for a social level, the interviewee's illness, it did affect him socially. He was unable to ever work again once he was paralyzed from the waist down, and he lost his legs. While he was in the nursing home, his family did come and visit him, and they tried to support him as much as they could, and they would visit him. But with his mental state being the way it was, he was not able to be an active role in his family anymore during these 4 years. During these 4 years, his children were young when he went into the nursing facility, and when he got out of the nursing facility, they were a lot older. So he missed a chunk of his sons' lives as they were growing, a time where he feels like they really needed him. The interviewee made a few friends while he was in the nursing facility, but again, they were probably like 20 to 30 years older than him. So he did feel isolated. He did try to engage himself in some of the social activities in the nursing home, like play cards and go to church, to try to keep him sane, as he would say. Some factors that inhibited and or helped my interviewee during his psychosocial crisis. Some factors that inhibited him were definitely his depression. He felt loss and a loss of his self, and he didn't feel a sense of purpose anymore. He felt paranoia. He felt lack of support from his family and from his community and from the hospital and from the staff. He just was very paranoid at the time, and I think angry and lashed out. He felt psychosis. His mental state did decline, and at times he was he didn't have the mental capacity to understand what was going on. As for oppression, when I asked him about it, he does not feel that he was oppressed. He felt like at the time, during the time that it was, he had many opportunities as a young adult. He does not feel that he was oppressed in any way. He recognizes he was a Caucasian male and felt that there were a lot of opportunities for him. And he recognizes that maybe other groups didn't have the same opportunities that he had as a young adult. He does feel that he understands hardship because he did not come from a rich family. He always had to work hard for what he had, and he knows what it's like to go without. So he does understand hardship. He did not go to secondary school. After high school, he went to the military. So he understands hardship, he understands struggle, but he does not consider himself oppressed. From a multi-systems lens, my interviewee, while he was away in the nursing facility, his family constantly visited him. Even when he had lost all hope, his wife pushed him. She did not give up on him, even when he gave up on himself. As an ultimatum, when his psychosis and his negative attitude had just completely taken over